Hey there, welcome back to another episode of Casually Caffeinated. I'm Katherine Bryant, and Brooke, hello, how are you?
I am wonderful. How are you?
Thumbs up, we're trucking along. I think great has a different definition now, but we're good. We're good. Yeah.
Good.
I
Thank you.
yeah, it's kind of like Groundhog's Day, but it's good. So, um, I wanted to talk to you today about kind of a fall reset, if you will. Um, Now that we know fall won't look the same as February, and we'll still be working through some of these working modifications and so on and so forth, and kind of talk about what that's going to look like, and what do you think success will look like come this fall, coming from an employee perspective.
Well, I think that's a great question. And I'm going to tell you, Catherine, I got so excited about today's topic that I busted out the fall coffee mug.
That's right.
So
I love all things Halloween, so
it's true. I'm pretty tickled with it. And I'm basically a comedic genius. However, as we enter into fall and we've had this time to, dare I say, start to acclimatize to what the new normal is, and vacations are winding down, and whatever school looks like for children this year, it's definitely not, to your point, going to look like what it did in February. So it's going to look a little more similar, I think, to what we saw in March through the end of the year. Mm-hmm. And that being said, it's a great time for that employer-employee to take a moment and reset what expectations look like.
Mm-hmm. So do you think that when you are resetting those expectations, how important do you think it is to actually put together some type of training or protocol for both employees to talk about their success as they, maybe continue to work remotely, or if they're in the office and they're shifting back to a home office? What do you think that would look like, or what do you think would be the most streamlined way to do that, knowing that plans have to, still be, fluid and might change again?
Well, in an ideal world, and listen, I understand for HR people right now, there is little to an ideal world. However, it's a great time to retrain your managers on how to manage remotely. For those folks that are still allowing their people to work remotely, because in reality, we're still going to have the same issues with school that we did in the spring. And
right,
I know we talk on here that no one is born a manager, right? That's not a thing. No one comes out understanding, don't tease somebody about their age, don't tell somebody on maternity that they're on vacation. These are not things we do. And that piece of managing, it's really good to look at that and to be able to train to what it looks like to do remotely. Because I know in my former lives, as a manager of teams, it was hard when folks worked remote. Because I'll be honest, that when I called, and if I didn't get an answer, I would be like, well, they're clearly in the swimming pool. They're clearly not working, because I have the sensibilities of an 82-year-old British man from World War II. So now is a great time to put together, I would say, because I know we're heading into Q3 and Q4, we're in Q3 right now, that people don't have time. But if you can put together a 15-minute training, or even an email saying, this is how we level set managers, this is what we're looking for. We really need for you to explain to your team what working remotely successfully looks like for you and your team. And to the benefit of the employee, I know a lot of folks that are tired, and we're seeing a lot of data starting to come out that they feel like they have to be on call 24/7. And they don't really understand what success looks like, because no one wants to be the employee that their boss calls and they didn't pick up at 3:00 in the afternoon, even though I mean they may have just stepped away just like they would have at the office for a few minutes. So the fall is really a great time to level set before those kids head back into school.
I think that's such a good point. I know that you touched on that too in a previous episode, just about kind of the burnout that's associated, because people are working, you know, odd hours. They're not working less. They're maybe not working the typical, you know, 8 to 5 because they have kids at home or whatnot. But that means that, you know, they're, you know, working evening hours or working early morning hours. So what are some practical tips that you think managers could include in that training to provide a potential groundwork for success and understanding how the remote workforce should look and act, to be honest?
Right. Well, I think even if you can only do, and you can't do a training, even if you can only do an email, so devise yourself an email template, and within that email template, tell managers, these are the sentences you use when you're speaking to your employees about expectations. So whether it's, I expect you to acknowledge my email within a 24-hour period, because I can't look out my office and see that you're working on something else. If you're going to homeschool for 3 hours during the day, please let me know, block off your calendar so I know not to expect anything from you. And the same thing goes for setting expectations as to, okay, team, I send emails at 2:00 in the morning, but that doesn't mean that you get up at 6 and you have to respond by 7. And if you're really facing that problem, managers, think about putting your email on a timer. And so those are some practical ways and sentences that managers can use with their employees to really level set what those expectations are. Because we know, as we've discussed on here before, everybody's looking for revenue bumps this quarter in Q4. And we're all going to be pushing really hard, and that's coupled with really hard in the holidays, really hard, and COVID fatigue.
Right.
And so level setting right now would be a great way to tell employees what exactly they're expected to do.
I think that's great, because with so many things having to change, those, you know, pretty basic expectations that are still, you know, relatively loose. You know, you're still saying maybe to your team, if you're going to do X, Y, and Z during the day, like, we support that, like, let us know so that we can manage, you know, our expectations too. So I think sounds like it's definitely a two-way street in terms of that communication.
Absolutely. And give your employees, whether it's through your newsletter or other communications, give them some sentences, because it's hard for employees to ask their managers, what does success look like for me? Because maybe they already have a performance plan, or maybe they're just nervous and they don't. We're all nervous right now. We just are, to be perfectly honest. And so teach them the sentences. For example, you know, if you have a question about timeliness, ask your manager, ask them, when are you expecting a response? Ask them, would you like me to acknowledge your response, or would you like me to try to keep your inbox clean and not fill it up with acknowledgments? What would you prefer? And so when you empower employees to be able to ask those questions, you're really lifting the curtain between those two groups of people. And I think we've all been there, where we get frustrated and the frustration just builds and we don't say anything. So don't let your managers get frustrated that they're not getting those calls back immediately, and don't let your employees get frustrated where it's, I literally just sat back down at my desk. I'm getting to you as soon as possible.
This is such great advice that I think can go to, so many really fluid over different industries, different types of management teams. Brooke, thank you so much. These conversations always provide me with new information and are always insightful. And I just always enjoy talking to you. So thank you so much for your time today.
All right. Thank you, Katherine. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon.
You too.